Hello, great people. Candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, has addressed the press. You can call it a State of the Nation address because he assessed the performance of the Tinubu presidency, where he said that most of the things that the Tinubu presidency have been saying or have been brandishing as achievement is a lie. And Peter Obi also discussed the issues and the plight of Nigerians in what I call the State of the Nation address. In a moment, I'll leave you to hear from Peter Obi, and when we come back, we will be addressing one major thing that Peter Obi said in that State of the Nation address, which is the foreign trips of the president. He said a lot, and he set target for the president as regards what the president should achieve locally and how the president should save by curbing foreign trips. Let's hear from Mr. Peter Obi before we come back for more discussion. Let's hear from him. Let's hear him.
Mr. President, out of approximately 580 days you have been in office, it is reported that you have spent about 30% or around 180 days on more than 30 publicly recorded trips overseas. My appeal is that you dedicate 20% of 2025, roughly 72 days, to visit each of the 36 states for 2 days each. As a president, such visit will give you opportunity to better understand their economic and security situations across the country.
There you have it. You just heard candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, Peter Obi. Peter Obi asserted that President Bola Tinubu has spent 180 days abroad out of the 580 days that he has spent in office. This amounts to 30% of his tenure that he has spent it abroad. And you want to imagine the significance and implications of this for Nigeria and Nigerians. You see, I don't know why African president, because this is not only peculiar to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Most presidents in Africa usually fall into this category because they are young, they agree sit down one place. And you want to imagine that it is Nigerians that elect you. So you are supposed to stay with Nigerians and govern over Nigerians and address the issues of Nigeria. But then you are always traveling abroad. And why is it that the president would have spent 30% of his entire time in office abroad? The reason is that African leaders sincerely are not respected. They are not respected by the leaders of the developed countries. You want to imagine that if anything is happening abroad, to the benefit of that developed country abroad, they will invite Nigerian president and African president to come and meet them abroad. What an insult. When will Africa begin to take its rightful place? For instance, the president recently visited France. And if you look at it very well, if you look at the African international relation dynamics at the moment, you will see that France needs Nigeria more than Nigeria needs France. In the sense that most of France colonies, the independent colonies of France, are severing ties with France. And France is now trying to, woo Nigeria as its ally at the moment, and perhaps, as been, reported that maybe France may want to establish a military base in Nigeria because most of these African countries have been sacking France from their territory, that they don't want French military base again. Looking at that, who needs Nigeria most? It is France that needs Nigeria more than Nigeria needs France. So why would President Bola Ahmed Tinubu go to France on taxpayers' money, largely to the benefit of France? When Buhari was the president of Nigeria and Trump invited him, Trump would have invited Buhari to the benefit of the United States. But then it is Buhari that went to the United States. You would imagine that a country will organize a summit for Africa, one country. Let's say France African Summit. You must have heard something like that, or US African Summit. That means that US is organizing a summit for Africa, like the African continent. Presidents and head of state of Africa, the over 50 countries in Africa, will go to that one country. Is it not that country that is supposed to come down to Africa? And these are some of the things that are making the president to be traveling every time, because African leaders are so weak. African leaders, they only know how to be active when they are within their country. But when it comes to international relations, especially relating with all these developed countries, African leaders are so very weak. So if France invites you, you go. US invites you, you go. Canada, all these countries, UK, and most of them that need things are not coming to Nigeria. Definitely, you will spend 180 days abroad. Another thing is that, well, which is as regards old age, the president needs to take care of himself. He realized that, oh, if he is alive, that's when he can remain president of Nigeria. So health first. And the president, by virtue of his age, he needs to take care of his health. And most of our presidents, unfortunately, they don't trust the Nigerian health system, and they have not done much to put the Nigerian health system into an efficient position so that it can benefit them and Nigerians. Any little thing, they have gone abroad. So why won't the president spend 180 days abroad? The implication of this is that for every time, for every moment, for every trip, for every minute that the president spends abroad, this is being borne by taxpayers' money. It is Nigerians. The money that's supposed to meant for you and I to provide infrastructure, to pay salaries, to provide succor for the people. It is that money that the president will use to travel abroad. So I quite agree with Peter Obi that 180 days is too much. And that brings us to the fact that, can we have a National Assembly that will now pass a law that, okay, if there's any international engagement, you are permitted to leave 48 hours to that engagement, and immediately that engagement ends, 48 hours after that, you must return to the country. For instance, if you are going to France African Summit, or the president of France have invited you to France, if the days is if it is a 3-day official trip, you are entitled to go 2 days before the official trip, and you must return 2 days after the official trip. So if presidents are abusing the liberty to travel abroad at will, what the responsibility of the National Assembly is to now pass a law restricting those foreign travels. But then, unfortunately, we have a National Assembly that is more or less, the baby of the president. The president have his way around it. But in Senate climes, if traveling abroad excessively is a problem, that is the work of the National Assembly to now step in. Don't forget that the job of the National Assembly is principally checks and balances, and one of the ways to put checks and balances in place in foreign travel is to enact a law. You are entitled to travel 24 hours before, and you must return 24 hours after. So that is quite very important. And Peter Obi tasked the president that he should spend 72 days, which is 20% out of year 2025, to visit 36 states for 2 days each. I think that is quite logical. That makes sense in the sense that if you can spend 180 days abroad out of 580 days that you've been in office, you can as well spend 72 days to visit each state of the federation, to hear from the people, to feel the pulse of the people, feel the pace of the people, and know how to address their plight. I think that makes sense, that if you can spend 180 days abroad, of course you can spend 72 days to visit each state of the federation. Now, Peter Obi tasked the president that he should visit national hospitals. You see, as much as I want to agree with Peter Obi on this, the president cannot do everything, because he said the president should visit national hospital, should travel by road, should visit tertiary institutions, should conduct his next medical test in Nigeria. You see, as per visiting national hospitals, how many national hospitals does the president want to visit? The president is a busy man, and that's why he has aides. That's why he has Minister of Health. And I think the health ministry has 2 ministers, Minister of Health and Minister of State for Health. So these 2 ministers, it is their responsibility to go on an assessment tour and give report back to the president for implementation of some of the inefficiencies in those institutions where necessary. So as much as I agree with Peter Obi, I disagree with him on the aspect of the president visiting almost every place. No, if Peter Obi is the president of Nigeria, he won't have the time to be visiting all the national hospitals in Nigeria. So Peter Obi's point is logical, but I believe that should be for the aides and the ministers of the president. They said the president should conduct medical tests in Nigeria. I don't think that will happen, because I don't know why African presidents, especially Nigerian president, whether it is for the sake of privacy, whether it is maybe distrust in the efficiency of the system, they run abroad for any little health emergency or maybe any little health checkup, and they hide their medical report close to their chest. I don't know why it is like that, but I believe that if you are a president, you are public property, and if you are spending public funds to cater for your health, then you should be given report back to the people that owns the money, which is Nigerians themselves. Then he said the president should travel by road. Well, it is good for the president to travel by road, but the truth is that the DSS, they won't allow him to take such risk, in the sense that they themselves, they know of the level of insecurity in the country. Forget all the denials. Politicians will always deny, but in their heart of heart, they know that the level of insecurity in the country is high. So the president will not take the risk to travel by road. And maybe I need to tell you this, that the way they handle president, they handle them as if they are egg. Like if the president, they handle the president as if he's an egg. Because I was listening to Solomon Lalong in his recent interview, whereby he said somebody visited Buhari and the aides asked him, what do you want to tell the president? When the person said, when the person reviewed what he wants to discuss with Buhari, they said, no, you can't discuss this with him. The person said, well, they said, this is too sensitive. What if he has an heart attack and die? Imagine. What is there in telling the president about the situation of things in the country? So if you cannot tell the president the truth of what is happening in the country, is it that same president that the same aides, the same DSS, the same security agency will allow him to travel by road? But of course, they won't allow him. That is why in Nigeria it is difficult for anybody to kill the president, except God kills him, except maybe his in-house people. Maybe they now decide that they want to execute him, which is not possible, because they know that the moment he ceases to be president, they too will cease to enjoy what they are enjoying in Nigeria. Again, the president, Peter Obi, said that the president should visit tertiary institutions in the country. Well, the tertiary institutions need to be assessed. But then again, I still maintain that it is impossible for the president to start visiting all the tertiary institutions in the country. So this is a responsibility for his aides, for his Minister of Education, to visit the tertiary institution, take an assessment of the inefficiencies of those institutions, then get back to the president through a memo or a report, and this will be debated at the Federal Executive Council, and whatever they want to do will be put in the budget, and the National Assembly would ratify it based on their discretion, and it will be implemented. That is the way it's done. But for the president to visit all the hospitals, visit all the tertiary institutions, that is not possible in the true sense of it. But kudos to Peter Obi, because it made a lot of sense. If you listen to the whole broadcast, which I uploaded earlier, it made a significant sense as regards the true state, the reality of what is happening in Nigeria at the moment. Happy New Year to you all. This year, we will politic as much as we can, and that's why if you are watching me for the first time, do want to subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past video. Till I see you in my next video. I love you all, sincerely.